Sometimes the developers, the people who make the games we love, actually put things in the games just to make us feel bad, to make us think a little bit. So today we have 10 things developers added to make you feel guilty. Starting off with number 10, this is just another example of how detailed and reactive Red Dead 2 is. I mean, I feel like we've been talking about this forever. When you kill people, sometimes a random event will trigger where a widow will appear in town and confront Arthur about it. It's not a complex encounter, it's just an NPC who approaches you, says a few things, and then leaves. But as a tool for guilt-tripping the player, it's really effective. There are many reasons why it's just not as fun to go on a violent rampage in Red Dead Redemption 2. You know, the bounty system is a lot more punishing compared to the slap on the wrist you get for killing people in like Grand Theft Auto. But the other reason is that it just doesn't feel right to do. Like, the world is just so much more immersive. And it just doesn't feel right killing people for no reason as Arthur. And when you actually do go and kill people, the game does try and go the extra mile to guilt trip you with these widows. They only appear rarely, you know, it's not this big thing. It's not something that'll trigger after every killing, and it is possible to completely miss them. I personally missed them on my first playthrough, but still, just knowing it's here is kind of a deterrent to going on a killing spree. At least sometimes. Some of you maniacs are still gonna do it. Next, over at number 9, Stalker 2. One of the more memorable anomalies you encounter pretty early on is the poppy field. It's this strange patch of terrain that makes you drowsy just by standing in it. So staying under the influence of the poppy field for too long will knock you out and eventually kill you. And the only way to get through it is stay awake by chugging energy drinks, just like real life. So it just so happens that near the perimeter of the field is a stash containing a few energy drinks with a note explaining that these are meant to be for all the rookies going into the field for the first time. It's one of those things where you read it and you shrug it off as a little bit of world building. It's cool. You know, you pick up notes in games like this all the time. So you just take everything in the stash without even thinking about it. I mean, that's what we've all been trained to do in all of these types of video games. Just take everything that's nailed down because you're desperate. Only this time, someone actually notices. If you go back to the nearby village, you can actually find a stalker near a campfire who will call you out if you cleared out the stash. He says it was you who took everything and complains about how selfish stalkers have become, how they ignore community and are just really in it for themselves.
I found a stash of energy drinks in the poppy field. Your handiwork. Pretty useful.
Yeah, that was me. Figured it might help some poor bastard who goes charging into that anomaly unprepared like I did. But I guess stalkers are better at receiving than giving. I thought we were all in this to survive, but it feels more like we're just robbing the zone and each other. Anyway, I'm clocking out. It was a dumb idea to begin with.
It's a little interaction that's easy to miss, but it's a cool detail. It's there for someone just to stumble into and be impressed by how reactive the game can sometimes be. As far as a guilt trip, it's not the most persuasive. I mean, it's just a few energy drinks, but still, it's something you don't expect. Amusingly enough, too, the game acknowledges if you put an energy drink into the stash, the same guy who normally calls you out notices your generosity and commends you for your selfless spirit. He doesn't give you anything, but it's just still pretty amusing that the game actually reacts if you do something like that, and that the developers even thought of this. Next, over at number 8, if you've played Nier, then you've probably heard this one before, but in Lies of P, after beating the game once, the game makes it so you can actually understand the previously unintelligible dialogue of the machine puppets you've been fighting, which actually adds additional layers to their characters and the overall story. It's really cool. What makes this boss particularly interesting here, the King of Puppets, is his importance to the story that you'd never really know. Unless you hear his dialogue, it completely changes the context of the fight. It makes you feel way guiltier about killing him the first time through. There's still nothing that can actually be done differently. You have to kill this guy no matter what if you want to progress through the game. But they still manage to make you feel guilty about it. For the entire fight, he's trying to get through to you and stop you from fighting him, begging you to hear his side of the story, which is, of course, you can't do. You literally can't understand what he's saying, and you're a video game murder puppet boy. He tries to explain himself. He even reveals that he was once your friend, like your best friend, and there's no reason you should be fighting. It's a much more personal kind of guilt trip than you get in like Nier or something where, yeah, most of the monsters are tragic, but there's no real connection there. For this fight, it's way more personal, and you wouldn't even know it unless you went back and played the game a second time. It's a really cool detail. Next over at number 7, return to Monkey Island. Now, rather than being a serious guilty moment, this one's more of a joke, but the humor is dark enough that I think it still got to a lot of people and made them feel bad, even though I'm pretty sure that that wasn't actually the intention of the developers. You'll see what I mean. So, in Return to Monkey Island, you're trying to get on a pirate ship as a swabby. So, one of the main objectives is to get a mop. There's like this perfectly good one sitting in the scum bar kitchen, but of course, this is an adventure game, so just grabbing the mop isn't an option. Instead, you have to go through this ridiculously circuitous path to get one, which just involves cutting a sliver of wood off the mop to then make a map to the fabled mop tree hidden deep in the woods. Yes, it's another maze-type puzzle. You know, these games definitely love those. It's a good bit, though. At least the map is relatively easy to follow here. So you get to the tree, and it's like the image of pastoral beauty. You know, birds are singing, squirrels and deer are frolicking. Like, this is a scene ripped right out of an early Disney movie. And there's the tree, and all you have to do is cut off a branch, and you got the mop handle. Cut to a scene of devastation, and the entire tree is like totally destroyed. The forest looks burned down. All the woodland creatures look traumatized. Some of them are crying. It's a completely over-the-top outcome to just chopping down a branch of a tree. The joke here is, and there's nothing funnier than explaining the joke, I'm sorry, but like number one, the classic sociopathness of the adventure game protagonist who just destroys everything they touch, and then two, the over-the-top destruction that they didn't have to do. If they wanted it to be boring, like they could have just cut the branch off and that was it. Still, look, it's not hard to feel a little guilt in the face of crying woodland creatures. I mean, look at them. Next over at number 6, the newest faction in Helldivers 2 are these guys called the Illuminate, who are highly dangerous enemies that use zombified citizens of Super Earth to fight for them. These are the voteless, and killing them normally doesn't trigger anything, but if you manage to damage them with either electrical weapons or by beating them on the head with a melee attack, then it'll sometimes trigger a death animation where these zombies seem to become like self-aware for a few seconds before their demise. It's pretty crazy. Now, zombies that repeat the actions of their past lives isn't exactly a new idea, but still, it's hard not to feel at least a tiny smidge of guilt over killing these guys when they do things like, you know, look around confused or stare down at their hands in horror, or worst of all, give you the Super Earth salute before then falling over dead. It's a small thing that's actually pretty rare. You'll really need to look to see some of this stuff, but it's a cool little detail they didn't need to put in the game, but we're glad they did. Now over at number 5, in Tears of the Kingdom, there's this special fairy called the Horse God, which can be used to upgrade your mounts or revive ones that die. Depending on how that horse met its demise, this guy actually has special dialogue about it. Mostly, like all of it's like fairly benign, but if you were the one who killed the horse, then he's got some harsh words for you. He lays it on really thick too. This isn't just one or two lines, he just keeps going, saying that he's not sure if he should bring this horse back, if that's how you're gonna treat him. It's guilt tripping you the way your parents would talk after your pet goldfish died. Like, yeah, I don't think you're mature enough to take care of this horse, Link. You're just gonna shoot it up with arrows again or explode it, and then we're gonna have to buy you a new one. We're not mad, we're just disappointed. Now at number 4, most of the psychos in Dead Rising are unrepentant maniacs, or just straight up cartoonish monsters with no redeeming features, so nobody has any qualms with killing them. Does anybody ever feel bad about killing the murder clown or that madman in the grocery store? No, nobody really cares. In fact, it's actually pretty fun to take a lot of these guys out. Cliff, however, is different. He's this like hulking beast of a dude hiding out in the hardware store who attacks when you enter. But in comparison to all the other nut jobs haunting the mall, he's actually kind of sympathetic when you look into it. So he snapped for much more understandable reasons according to the game. He saw his granddaughter die from zombies, which caused him to go all Rambo First Blood. But after you beat him, he comes to his senses and actually regrets the things he's done.
You. Over there. Here. Take this. My granddaughter. She was done in by those damn zombies. When I heard her scream, I just lost it.
It's basically a Metal Gear Solid boss death in a Dead Rising game. Like, you get to talk to them after you basically kill them. And it makes so many people feel guilty about killing him that, like, a lot of people just straight up avoid fighting him given the chance in the game. He's one of the optional ones, so, like, if you don't care about unlocking the hardware store, then there's no reason to hunt him down, and who knows? Maybe he'll come to his senses after everything. The only problem here is that there are some people trapped in the store with him, so he's almost certainly gonna kill them unless you intervene. Still, it's hard not to feel at least a little sorry for the guy, which we're just pointing out because it's a very rare thing in this series, and the first game in particular.
The war. It wasn't over. Not for me. It never ended.
Now down at number 3, in Metal Gear Solid 5, for a game that's supposed to be about how Big Boss finally, for real this time, fully falls into darkness, turns into the bad guy, for most of the game, you seem mostly justified in what you're doing. Sure, there's generally more anger and bitterness from your allies, most notably Kaz and Huey, giving the game a more grim tone. You're still not really doing anything all that bad. That is until episode 43. You know what I'm talking about. That mission. The insane one where everything goes to shit immediately. In Act 2, there's like this disease spreading through your base. Even though it eventually gets contained, something happens, and it's up to the boss to go and investigate. For this one mission, Metal Gear Solid 5 turns into like a horror game where you're slowly creeping through these corridors, discovering the aftermath of a horrific outbreak in here that's threatening to get out.
Stay back! Stay back! He's got a mask. He's with a rescue team. And the guy from before.
The infection is spreading rapidly, and it's turning your soldiers into mindless zombies, your comrades. And they're being drawn to the outside where they can spread the infection to everyone in the base and potentially the entire world. So there's only one way to stop them, and that's bullets.
Step aside, boss. Just one thoughts. I can't die in this hell. I'm not infected. I can't. If I am, I don't want to go out like this.
Staff member has died.
If these were all just no-name zombies, then, there wouldn't be much to feel guilty about, but they're not. They're actually all named members of your base. All the soldiers you recruited throughout the game and collected, maybe ones you rely on or are pretty useful in battle, they could be here, and you may be forced to kill them. That's not even the worst of it. The most sickening section happens when you find a group of soldiers who haven't turned, but are still infected. And, with no cure, you're forced to kill them one by one as they salute you. It's like a kind of distorted version of the heroic victory theme plays over the radio. It's a wild sequence.
Hang on, boss. Is he wearing
wearing a mask. He might not be infected. Examine him with those goggles.
Now down at number 2, Silent Hill 3 has an absolute classic guilt-tripping gaming thing, and all it took was 7 words to really nail it. Seriously, there's nothing in the game to suggest that the things that you're fighting are anything other than mindless monsters, but all it takes is that little seed of doubt to creep in, and suddenly, things start looking a little bit more complicated. The 7 words is, they look like monsters to you? Now, if you want to know the context of this line, it's delivered by Vincent near the end of the game as a way to convince Heather to do his dirty work and take out Claudia, the true believer cultist who is inconvenient to his plans. She asks if he's talking about the monsters, and he says this line.
Are you talking about the monsters?
Monsters? They look like monsters to you?
It's meant to be a joke.
Don't worry. It's just a joke.
Vincent spends the entire game acting like a creepy asshole, but even knowing that he's full of it, it's still hard not to shake the implication that what you think you're seeing may not be what's actually going on. It's not like the series hasn't gone to that well before. I mean, Silent Hill 2, every character seems to experience the town differently. So it's not impossible that what he's saying is actually true. Like, it just doesn't fit in with the established details of the story delivered in Silent Hill 3, which spends, the entire rest of the game making it fairly clear that yes, everything Heather is seeing is real, and just not in her head. But still, like I said, it sows the seeds of doubt. Everyone who sees or hears that line for the first time, though, there's this immediate feeling of guilt that washes over you before immediately switching to just being pissed at Vincent for coming up with that good line in the first place. Damn, man. Now at number 1, releasing a companion in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. There are many games that attempt to guilt trip you when you're ejecting characters from your roster or making space for new monsters in a monster collecting game. A perfect example of what I'm talking about is the Chow minigame in Sonic Adventure 2. When you want to dump one, the game really lays it on thick. I don't know, just to make you feel really guilty about dumping your virtual pets, I guess. So again, this sort of thing isn't uncommon, but I've never seen a game go so hard on the guilt tripping as Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. It's not just some sad text about them leaving forever, or a little picture to guilt you into keeping them. This game is a whole ass animation for when you choose to remove a Palico from your roster. Some people have claimed that this little sequence has made them cry in real life. I've seen people post that. And if you're sensitive, I can see it. I mean, the guilt tripping starts on frame 1 and only gets worse. And I mean, again, like they're Palicos. Look at them. The way it kicks off is your cute little cat guy buddy starts sadly slinking away before stopping, crying a little, and turning back to give you a forlorn look. This is your last chance to keep them, and if you do, then this absurdly joyous animation then plays. But if you choose to let them go, like a heartless monster that you probably are, you bastard, then the drama just intensifies, with him riding off into the sunset, crying. It is pretty brutal. Modern Monster Hunter games don't have these animations, but they should really come back to scar the next generation of Monster Hunter fans for life, man. The reactions alone here will be priceless. This is good stuff, and again, like I said, this is 10 things developers added into their games to make you feel guilty. There are plenty of other examples out there, probably, but if you've experienced any of these, let us know. Let's talk about anything about these games down in the comments. If you like this video, we put out videos every single day. All you gotta do is click the like button to help us. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. See ya.